The conference chamber floated in the void between stars, a massive structure built by a dozen civilizations over 3,000 years. Inside, representatives from 47 different species gathered around a circular platform that glowed with soft blue light. Ambassador Kelthera stood at her designated position, her forearms clasped in the traditional Vereen posture of patience. Her compound eyes reflected the holographic display that dominated the center of the room. The display showed a small yellow star with 8 planets orbiting peacefully. The third planet glowed with a faint red warning marker. Earth, Sol 3, the Forbidden World. It has been 230 years, announced Coordinator Velmac, his crystalline body chiming with each word. 230 years since the humans went silent. The matter should be closed. They destroyed themselves as many primitive species do. Kelthera clicked her mandibles in disagreement. She had studied the human file for decades. Something about their disappearance never sat right with her. The humans had been noisy, so incredibly noisy. Their radio waves had painted pictures across the galaxy for over a century. Music, television, satellite communications, military radar. Then on a date the humans called March 15, 2024, everything stopped. Not gradually. Not with the chaos of warfare or the desperate final messages of a dying world. Just silence. Complete and total silence. With respect, Coordinator, Kelthera spoke up, her voice translator rendering her clicks and whistles into Galactic Common. The timing concerns me. We lost 3 scout ships near the Sol quarantine zone in the past solar cycle. 3 ships with experienced crews vanished without distress calls. A ripple of concern moved through the assembly. The loss of 1 ship could be explained. 3 was a pattern. Space is dangerous, growled Commander Thex, the Korthaxi military representative. His scaled hide reflected the chamber lights in shades of deep purple. Perhaps they encountered natural phenomena. Perhaps their crews were incompetent. Perhaps, Kelthera agreed, though she believed neither explanation. Or perhaps something has changed in the Sol system. Something we need to understand. The Coordinator's crystalline form shifted through several colors as he processed this. The Galactic Council had maintained the Sol quarantine for good reason. Their xenopsychology experts had studied humanity for generations before the silence. The consensus had been troubling. Humans were aggressive, territorial, and dangerously creative. They fought wars over resources, ideas, and invisible lines on their planet. Their technology advanced at an alarming rate. Several council members had argued for intervention, for guiding humanity onto a more peaceful path or preventing them from ever reaching the stars. But the council moved slowly, debated, endlessly. Before any decision was made, the humans went silent. Most council members felt relief. One less problem to manage, one less potential threat to worry about. The humans had probably killed themselves with nuclear weapons or engineered plagues or environmental collapse. The galaxy had seen it happen countless times before. But Kelthera remembered something from the old human transmissions. A phrase that had puzzled the translation algorithms. Speak softly and carry a big stick. The humans had many such sayings, little packages of wisdom that revealed how they thought. This one bothered her because she understood it too well. Sometimes the most dangerous creatures were the quiet ones. I propose an investigation mission, Kelthera said firmly. A small fleet, scientific in nature, to approach the quarantine boundary and determine what happened to our scouts. If the humans are gone, we confirm it and reclaim the Sol system for study. If something else is occurring, we need to know. The debate lasted 3 hours. Species who had lost crew members on the missing scouts supported her. Others worried about provoking whatever might lurk in the Sol system. The Korthaxi wanted to send a military fleet to establish dominance immediately. Kelthera argued against this. If the humans somehow survived, approaching with warships would start badly. Finally, the coordinator reached a decision. Kelthera would lead a small investigative fleet of 5 ships. Scientific vessels, lightly armed, crewed by volunteers. They would approach the quarantine boundary, scan the system, and attempt to determine the fate of both humanity and the missing scouts. 3 weeks later, Kelthera stood on the bridge of the research vessel Luminous Path. 4 other ships traveled with her, maintaining a tight formation as they approached the edge of council space. The Sol system lay ahead, its yellow star growing brighter with each passing day. Her crew was nervous. She could smell the fear pheromones from her fellow Vereen, could see the twitching movements of the Fenari sensor operators, could hear the low growls of the Torvin engineers. Everyone knew the stories. The humans had been strange, unpredictable. What might they have become in 2 centuries if they somehow survived? Approaching quarantine boundary, announced the navigation officer. Distance to Sol system, 0.5 light years. Kelthera felt her respiratory spiracles tighten with anticipation. This was the moment. If something was going to happen, it would happen now. The ships crossed the invisible line that marked the quarantine zone. Every sensor activated simultaneously, scanning for any sign of human activity or explanation for the missing scouts. What they found made Kelthera's circulatory fluid run cold. The sensors showed massive structures throughout the system. Enormous orbital platforms surrounded every planet. Energy signatures that made no sense. Power outputs that exceeded anything the Council had ever developed. The asteroid belt had been completely reorganized, transformed into what looked like industrial complexes and habitation modules. And Earth itself, Earth, was surrounded by thousands of objects forming a shell around the planet. By the ancestors, whispered her sensor chief. The readings must be wrong. This is impossible. But Kelthera knew the readings were correct. Humanity had not died. They had not destroyed themselves. They had built something vast, something that made Council technology look primitive by comparison. All ships prepare for... Her warning came too late. 5 vessels materialized around her fleet, appearing from nowhere as if space itself had birthed them. They were dark, angular, covered in what looked like panels that bent light around them. Human ships. They had to be. The communication channel activated before Kelthera could send a hail. The voice that spoke was calm, almost friendly, but carried absolute authority. Unknown vessels. You have entered sovereign human territory. This is your only warning. State your purpose immediately or you will be escorted out of this system. You have 60 seconds to comply. Kelthera's forearms trembled slightly as she activated her response channel. 230 years of silence, and this was how humanity announced their survival. Not with greetings or questions, but with a statement of power and a demand for compliance. The galaxy had assumed humanity was dead. The galaxy had been catastrophically wrong. She opened the channel, chose her words carefully, and spoke to the species that had apparently been hiding in the dark, building an empire while the Council believed them extinct. This is Ambassador Kelthera of the Galactic Council. We come in peace, seeking only to understand what happened. We mean no harm. The response came immediately, and something in the human voice made her respiratory spiracles contract with instinctive fear. Ambassador Kelthera, we know exactly who you are. We have been expecting you. Welcome to the Sol system. Let us show you what humanity has become. The human ships moved with unsettling grace like predators circling wounded prey. Kelthera watched her tactical display as the 5 dark vessels maintained perfect formation around her small fleet. They had not powered weapons, had not made threatening moves, but their presence alone communicated a simple message. We could destroy you at any moment. We choose not to. Ambassador, her communications officer said quietly, we are receiving detailed scanning data. The humans are examining every system on our ships, every single component. Kelthera nodded slowly. Of course they were. The humans wanted to know exactly what they were dealing with, wanted to understand Council technology down to the smallest detail. She would have done the same thing. A new transmission arrived. This time she could see the speaker. A human female appeared on the view screen, middle-aged by their species standards, wearing a simple gray uniform with no visible weapons or armor. Her dark eyes studied Kelthera with calm intelligence. Ambassador Kelthera, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. On behalf of humanity, I welcome you to our space. I understand you have questions. We are prepared to provide some answers, but first we must establish protocols. Protocols? Kelthera clicked her mandibles in confusion. Captain Chen, my people believed humanity was extinct. We have found instead that you have built something extraordinary. Please help me understand what happened. Captain Chen smiled, though Kelthera had studied enough human expressions to know it was not a warm smile. What happened is simple, Ambassador. 230 years ago, humanity chose to stop talking and start listening. We discovered that the galaxy was watching us. We discovered that the Galactic Council had been monitoring Earth for over 400 years. We discovered that you were deciding our fate. The words landed like physical blows. Kelthera felt her respiratory spiracles seal shut for a moment, an involuntary reaction to shock. The humans knew. They had always known about the surveillance. How? Kelthera managed to ask. One of your observation probes malfunctioned in 2019, Captain Chen explained. It fell into our Pacific Ocean. Our military recovered it. We reverse-engineered your communications technology and began intercepting your transmissions. We learned that the Council was debating whether to guide us, to suppress us, or to eliminate us as a potential threat. We learned that most of you considered humanity dangerous. Captain Chen's expression hardened. We learned that the galaxy is not a friendly place, that advanced civilizations do not welcome newcomers. They control them. So we made a choice. We went silent. We stopped broadcasting anything that could reveal our development. We built everything underground, underwater, in hidden facilities on the dark side of our moon. For 230 years, we worked. We unified. We prepared. Kelthera looked at the sensor displays showing the massive structures throughout the Sol system. 2 centuries. Humanity had spent 2 centuries building all of this in complete secrecy, knowing that the Council watched their homeworld. We need to see Earth, Kelthera said. We need to understand the scope of what you have accomplished. That can be arranged, Captain Chen agreed. But understand this, Ambassador. You will come to Earth on our terms. Your fleet will remain here in the outer system under escort. You and 2 of your staff will board a human transport. You will be unarmed. You will travel where we permit and see what we allow. These conditions are not negotiable. Every instinct Kelthera had developed over a century of diplomatic service screamed warnings. Going into a potentially hostile situation without protection, without backup, without any leverage was dangerous. But she had come here seeking answers. She would not get them by running away now. I accept your conditions, Kelthera said. I will select 2 staff members and prepare to transfer to your vessel. The human transport arrived an hour later. It was small, elegant, and absolutely terrifying to every scanning device on the luminous path. The ship's hull was made from materials that Council databases could not identify. Its power source generated energy in ways that seemed to violate several fundamental laws of physics. And it moved through space with an efficiency that suggested propulsion technology decades ahead of anything the Council possessed. Kelthera boarded with her senior science officer, a Fenari named Quillix, and her security chief, a Torvin called Grask. The humans who greeted them were polite but not warm. They showed the 3 aliens to a comfortable observation deck and offered refreshments, which Kelthera declined. She was too nervous to consume anything. The journey inward took 6 hours, 6 hours during which Kelthera watched the Sol system reveal its secrets. Every planet had been transformed. Mars was covered with dome cities and terraforming installations. The gas giants were surrounded by fuel extraction platforms and orbital habitats. The asteroid belt was not a natural formation anymore, but an organized industrial complex, with facilities mining, refining, and manufacturing on a scale that made Council industrial worlds look primitive. But Earth. Oh, Earth was something else entirely. As they approached, Kelthera saw the Dyson swarm. Thousands of massive solar collection panels orbited the sun in perfect geometric patterns, harvesting energy that powered the entire system. Earth itself was wrapped in a shell of orbital platforms, space stations, and defensive installations. The planet's surface was visible through gaps in the orbital infrastructure, and what Kelthera saw made her want to weep. The Earth was green. Incredibly beautifully green. Forests covered continents. Oceans sparkled clean and blue. The atmosphere was clear, free of pollution. The humans had not just survived. They had healed their world. How many people live here? Quillix asked in a whisper. A human escort answered. Earth's surface population is maintained at 2 billion for ecological balance. Another 43 billion humans live in orbital habitats, Mars colonies, and throughout the system. We have settlements on 17 moons and 400 major asteroid installations. 45 billion humans. The entire Council contained only 60 billion sentient beings across 47 species and 300 worlds. Humanity alone had become a major galactic power in terms of population. The transport descended through the orbital shell and entered Earth's atmosphere. They landed in what the humans called Geneva, at a massive diplomatic complex built into the side of a mountain. The architecture was beautiful, combining natural stone with advanced materials in ways that made the structure seem to grow from the landscape itself. Captain Chen met them at the landing pad, along with a delegation of other humans. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Kelthera. The Human Council is ready to receive you. They walked through corridors lined with screens showing images from throughout human space. Kelthera saw cities on Mars, mining operations in the asteroid belt, massive construction projects building what looked like generation ships in the outer system. Humanity was not just surviving. They were expanding, preparing to reach beyond their home system. The council chamber was circular, with seats arranged in ascending rings. 50 humans sat in those seats, representatives from every region of Earth and every major orbital habitat. At the center stood a woman who radiated authority despite her small stature. Ambassador Kelthera, the woman said, her voice carrying easily through the chamber. I am Director Elena Chen, head of the Human Council. Thank you for accepting our invitation. I imagine you have many questions. But first we have something to show you, something that will help you understand why humanity chose silence over speech. Director Chen activated a holographic display. It showed communications intercepts, thousands of them, spanning 2 centuries, council transmissions discussing humanity, debates about whether humans were too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous to be allowed into galactic civilization, plans for intervention, for suppression, for guidance that looked suspiciously like control. We heard everything, Director Chen said quietly. Every debate about eliminating us before we developed faster than light travel. Every discussion about whether to guide us onto a path that served council interests. Every analysis that concluded humanity was a threat that needed to be managed. She looked directly at Kelthera with eyes that held no anger, only cold calculation. We learned that the galaxy does not welcome newcomers. It controls them or destroys them. So we chose a third option. We disappeared. We made you think we were gone while we built ourselves into something you could not control or destroy. And now, Ambassador, we are ready to talk. But this time we will talk as equals. The holographic recordings played in silence. Kelthera watched as years of council deliberations unfolded before her eyes. She saw herself younger, arguing in favor of observation rather than intervention. She saw Commander Thex proposing military action to prevent human expansion. She saw the coordinator suggesting that humanity might be guided onto a productive path through careful manipulation of their development. Every secret the council thought secure had been intercepted, decoded and stored by humanity. 230 years of spying revealed in minutes. Director Chen paused the display. We know about the Yalvian suppression, she said quietly. How you discovered a species developing faster than light communication and destroyed their satellite network with an asteroid impact you made look natural. We know about the Kelleran guidance program, where you infiltrated their society and steered them away from certain technologies. We know about 17 other civilizations you have monitored, controlled, or eliminated. Quillix made a small sound of distress. Even Grask, normally stoic, shifted his weight uncomfortably. These were not public knowledge. These were council secrets. Actions taken to maintain galactic stability but never acknowledged openly. Kelthera felt something close to shame. She had known about some of these interventions, had even supported a few. The council operated on a principle that seemed logical. Guide young species away from dangerous paths, prevent conflicts before they started, maintain peace through careful management. But hearing it described through human eyes, it sounded different. It sounded like oppression. Why are you showing me this? Kelthera asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Because you need to understand why we made our choice, Director Chen replied. She gestured and the hologram changed, showing Earth in 2024. This is our world on the day we went silent. 7.9 billion humans, divided by nations, religions, ideologies. We fought wars over resources and beliefs. We damaged our environment. We built weapons that could destroy our entire civilization. By every measure your council used, we were a dangerous, unstable species heading for self-destruction. The image shifted, showing scenes from human history. Wars, pollution, conflict, but also art, music, exploration, cooperation. Your council was not wrong about the danger we posed, Director Chen admitted. We were dangerous. We still are. But here is what your analysis missed. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to change, to adapt, to unite when faced with an existential threat. New images appeared. Human leaders meeting in secret. Scientists sharing research across borders. Military forces coordinating instead of fighting. When we intercepted your transmissions and learned we were being judged, we made a collective decision. Every nation on Earth, for the first time in our history, agreed on a single goal: survive. Prove ourselves worthy not by your standards, but by ours. The hologram showed construction beginning. Underground facilities, underwater research stations, bases built into craters on the dark side of the moon where Earth blocked any view from outside observers. We had advantages, Director Chen continued. The probe we recovered gave us a starting point for understanding your technology. But more importantly, we had time. 2 centuries to develop without interference. 2 centuries to focus all of our resources, all of our creativity, all of our competitive drive toward a single purpose. Kelthera watched humanity's hidden development unfold. They had not just copied Council technology. They had improved it, innovated beyond it. The fusion reactors they designed produced twice the power of Council models. Their materials science developed compounds that were lighter and stronger than anything in the galactic database. Their artificial intelligence systems, networked across the entire system, operated at speeds that made Council computing look slow. But technology was only part of our transformation, Director Chen said. The hologram shifted again, showing Earth's surface being restored, forests replanted, oceans cleaned, cities rebuilt with sustainable technology. We realized that if we wanted to prove ourselves different from the violent, destructive species your Council feared, we needed to heal our own world first. We could not claim to be civilized while our home planet suffered. It had taken a century, but humanity had done it. They had reversed climate change, restored extinct species, created a balance between their civilization and their planet's ecosystem, and they had done it while simultaneously building the most advanced technological infrastructure in known space. You asked why we went silent, Director Chen said, meeting Kelthera's gaze. We went silent because we learned that the galaxy judges newcomers by their noise, by their chaos, by their appearance of threat. We decided to stop being judged and start being underestimated. For 230 years you thought we were gone. We were actually preparing. Grask spoke for the first time, his deep voice rumbling. Preparing for what, war? Director Chen shook her head. Preparing for this conversation. Preparing to meet you as equals rather than subjects. Preparing to offer the galaxy a choice. What choice? Kelthera asked, though part of her already knew the answer. The Council system is built on control, Director Chen said bluntly. You monitor emerging species and decide their fates. You suppress technologies you consider dangerous. You guide civilizations onto paths that serve Council interests rather than their own. You have maintained peace, yes, but at the cost of freedom for hundreds of worlds. She gestured and a new hologram appeared, showing dozens of star systems. We have been monitoring the galaxy just as you monitored us. We know about 43 species currently under Council observation. Species that have no idea they are being watched and judged. Species whose futures you will decide without their knowledge or consent. The implications hit Kelthera like a physical force. Humanity had not spent 2 centuries just developing themselves. They had been watching the Watchers, learning everything about how the Council operated. We offer the Council a choice, Director Chen said. Reform or become irrelevant. End your policy of suppressing emerging civilizations. Allow species to develop freely and make their own choices, their own mistakes. Create a true cooperative alliance of equals rather than a hierarchy of controllers and controlled. And if the Council refuses? Quillix asked nervously. Director Chen's expression remained neutral. Then humanity will offer those 43 species the same thing we would have wanted 2 centuries ago. Protection from interference. The freedom to develop on their own terms. We will build a new alliance, one based on mutual respect rather than management. The Council can join us or watch as the galaxy reorganizes around them. Kelthera felt her world shifting beneath her feet. Everything the Council had built over thousands of years, challenged by a species that had been spacefaring for barely 2 centuries. But she could not deny the logic. Humanity had proven something profound. They had transformed themselves from a dangerous, divided species into a unified civilization that had achieved more in 2 centuries than most Council species achieved in a millennium. The Council will never agree, Kelthera said quietly. Too many species benefit from the current system. Too many have power they will not willingly surrender. We know, Director Chen replied. We have been listening to your deliberations for decades. We know exactly which species will resist and why. But Ambassador, we also know something else. We know that most Council species are not happy with the current system. They stay because they see no alternative. We are offering them one. She leaned forward, her expression intense. You came here seeking answers about what happened to humanity. Here is your answer. We survived by choosing silence over noise, patience over haste, preparation over presumption. We became something new, something that will not accept being controlled or managed or guided onto someone else's path. The question now is what the Council will become in response. Kelthera looked at her two companions. Quillix appeared terrified, understanding the implications. Grask looked thoughtful, perhaps even impressed. She turned back to Director Chen. I will carry your message to the Council, Kelthera said. But I must warn you, there are species in the Council who will view this as a threat, who will argue for military action. Director Chen smiled, and this time there was no warmth in it at all. Let them argue. Let them plan. Let them send their fleets if they choose. We have spent 230 years preparing for every possibility. The galaxy thought humanity was dead. The galaxy was wrong. And now the galaxy will learn what happens when you underestimate a species that chooses to hide rather than show its strength. She stood, signaling the meeting was ending. We will provide you with evidence of everything we have shown you today. Records, data, proof that cannot be dismissed. Return to the Council, Ambassador Kelthera. Tell them humanity is no longer silent. Tell them we are ready to talk. But make sure they understand we are also ready for any response they might choose. As Kelthera was escorted from the Council chamber, she felt the weight of history pressing down on her. She had come seeking answers about a dead civilization. She was returning with a message that would shake the foundations of galactic order. Humanity had not died. They had evolved, transformed, become something unprecedented. The Council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from 47 species shouted, argued, and demanded action all at once. Kelthera stood at the center of the storm, exhausted from her journey and overwhelmed by the response to her report. This is unacceptable, Commander Thex roared, his scales shifting to an aggressive crimson. These humans threaten everything we have built. They must be brought under control immediately. How? Asked Coordinator Velmac, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. Did you not hear Ambassador Kelthera's report? Their technology exceeds ours in every category. Then we overwhelm them with numbers, Thex growled. We have thousands of ships across Council space. We mobilize everything and demonstrate that superior technology means nothing against superior force. Kelthera wanted to object, to warn them that the humans had anticipated exactly this response. But her voice was lost in the din. She had shown them everything. The recordings of Council secrets, the evidence of humanity's technological advancement. The ultimatum. Reform or face a new galactic order built without Council involvement. Some species had responded with fear, others with anger. A few, mostly smaller civilizations who had always chafed under Council oversight, seemed almost hopeful. But the dominant voices were those of the powerful species who had the most to lose if the Council system changed. After 6 hours of debate, the decision was made. The Korthaxi hegemony would lead a massive fleet to the Sol system, not to attack, they claimed, but to demonstrate strength, to show humanity that the Council could not be threatened or coerced. To establish that the galaxy had an order and humanity would respect it. Kelthera voted against the measure. So did representatives from 12 other species. They were outvoted 35-13. Commander Thex himself took command of the fleet. 300 warships, the largest military force the Council had assembled in 2 centuries. They would arrive at Sol system, establish a perimeter, and demand humanity's immediate surrender and submission to Council authority. If the humans refused, the fleet had authorization to disable their orbital infrastructure and occupy Earth. It was, Kelthera knew, a catastrophic mistake. But she was a diplomat, not a military commander. She could only watch as the fleet assembled and prepared to jump to human space. The Korthaxi fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system, exactly 2 weeks after Kelthera's return to Council space. 300 warships armed with the most advanced weapons Council technology could produce. They came in battle formation, shields raised, weapons powered but not locked on targets. Commander Thex broadcast his message on all frequencies, certain that the humans were listening. Attention, human vessels. This is Commander Thex of the Korthaxi hegemony, speaking on behalf of the Galactic Council. You have violated established protocols by developing advanced technology without Council oversight. You have threatened Council security by intercepting classified communications. You have demanded changes to galactic order that are not yours to demand. You have 24 hours to power down all military installations and submit to council inspection. Failure to comply will result in the occupation of your system. This is your only warning. The response came immediately. A single transmission, audio only, from Director Elena Chen herself. Commander Thex, we received your ultimatum. We have reviewed your demands. Our response is as follows. You have entered sovereign human territory without authorization. You have deployed military force in a threatening manner. You have made demands that violate our right to self-determination. You have 30 minutes to withdraw all vessels beyond the quarantine boundary. This is your only warning. Thex's laughter echoed across the bridge of his flagship. 30 minutes. The humans were giving him 30 minutes to withdraw a force of 300 warships. The arrogance was almost admirable. Humans, Thex responded, you are outnumbered and outgunned. We have 300 ships. How many can you field? 10, 20? Even if your technology is superior, you cannot possibly defeat a force this size. Be reasonable. Surrender now and we will ensure you are treated fairly. Silence. No response from Earth. No human ships appeared to challenge the fleet. The minutes ticked by. Thex's confidence grew with each passing moment. The humans were bluffing. They had built impressive orbital infrastructure, yes, but they did not have the military force to back up their threats. At the 29-minute mark, Thex prepared to advance his fleet deeper into the system. At 30 minutes exactly, humanity responded. Every ship in the Korthaxi fleet went dark simultaneously. Power systems failed. Life support dropped to emergency levels. Weapons went offline. Shields collapsed. Communication systems died. The ships hung in space, dead and helpless, their crews suddenly trapped in vessels that had become metal coffins. Thex's flagship still had emergency power, enough for minimal systems. Enough for him to receive one final transmission. A human ship appeared, not through faster-than-light travel, but simply materializing as if it had always been there. Invisible until it chose to be seen, it was smaller than any Korthaxi warship, elegant and dark, bristling with weapons that had not fired a single shot. Captain Sarah Chen's face appeared on the emergency display. Commander Thex, your fleet has been disabled. We have not destroyed a single vessel or harmed a single crew member. Your life support will maintain minimal function for 72 hours. More than enough time for rescue ships to arrive. Your weapons and propulsion systems, however, are completely fried. Irreparable. These ships will need to be towed home and scrapped. Thex felt something he had not experienced in decades. Pure, overwhelming fear. The humans had disabled 300 warships in seconds. Without firing a shot. Without even approaching weapons range. How? He managed to ask. We weaponized quantum entanglement, Captain Chen explained calmly. Every advanced computer system in Council space uses quantum processors. We learned to exploit that. To reach across space and simply turn them off. Your ships, your stations, your planetary defenses. All of them are vulnerable to this technology. All of them can be disabled at any time we choose. She leaned forward, her expression hardening. We could have destroyed your fleet, Commander. We could have killed 30,000 Korthaxi in an instant. We chose mercy instead. We chose to demonstrate our capability without taking lives. But understand this clearly. If you come at us again, if any Council fleet enters our space with hostile intent, we will not be so gentle. Another human vessel appeared. This one massive, clearly designed for recovery operations. We will assist your crews with emergency life support while you wait for rescue, Captain Chen continued. We will even provide you with detailed sensor logs showing exactly how we disabled your fleet, so your engineers can begin to understand the scope of what we have developed. Consider it a lesson. And consider this, Commander Thex. We have been monitoring Council space for decades. We know the location of every military installation, every shipyard, every defensive platform in your territory. We can reach all of them instantly whenever we choose. You cannot threaten what you cannot touch. The transmission ended. The human ships began distributing life support pods to the disabled Korthaxi vessels, ensuring no crew would die while waiting for rescue. It was a mercy that somehow made the demonstration more terrifying. The humans could have committed genocide. Instead, they were saving the lives of those who came to conquer them. Thex sat in his darkened bridge, surrounded by useless controls and panicking crew members, and realized the magnitude of his mistake. Humanity had not been bluffing. They had been showing restraint. They had warned him, given him time to withdraw, tried to avoid this confrontation. He had ignored those warnings because he believed in the superiority of Council military might. That belief had just been shattered along with 300 warships worth of military hardware. News of the incident spread across Council space within hours. Every species with representatives in the Council received the same message. Humanity had sent detailed documentation of the encounter, including sensor recordings from multiple Korthaxi vessels. The evidence was irrefutable. Humanity possessed a weapon that could disable any Council vessel instantly, from any range. Without warning, the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in 30 minutes. Kelthera watched the Council chamber descend into panic. Some species demanded immediate peace negotiations with humanity. Others wanted to evacuate their homeworlds, convinced the humans would strike next. A few called for total surrender, arguing that resistance against such technology was futile. But Kelthera noticed something interesting. Mixed with the fear, she detected something else in the voices of representatives from smaller Council civilizations. Relief, perhaps even hope. The species that had always felt controlled by the Council's military might now saw that might broken. If humanity could stand against the Council, perhaps others could too. Director Chen's final message to the Council was brief. We did not want this confrontation. We hoped rational discussion would be sufficient. But Commander Thex forced our hand and we responded. We are willing to negotiate, to find a peaceful path forward, but we will not negotiate from a position of weakness or submission. The galaxy has changed. How you choose to change with it is up to you. The month following the Korthaxi humiliation was the most chaotic period in Council history. 3 species withdrew from the Council entirely, declaring neutrality and refusing to participate in any decisions regarding humanity. 7 more threatened to leave if military action was considered again. The smaller civilizations formed a bloc demanding immediate reforms regardless of human involvement. The Council was fracturing. Kelthera spent sleepless cycles mediating between factions, trying to prevent total collapse of the galactic order, while simultaneously preparing for the negotiations with humanity. She had been appointed lead negotiator, partly because of her previous contact with humans, partly because no one else wanted the responsibility of either succeeding or failing at such a critical task. 2 days before the scheduled meeting, Kelthera received a private transmission. It was Director Chen, requesting a confidential conversation before the formal negotiations began. They met virtually, their images projected across light years of space. Chen looked tired but satisfied, like someone who had completed a difficult task and could finally rest. Kelthera probably looked terrified, which she was. Ambassador Kelthera, Chen began, I wanted to speak with you privately, because I believe you are one of the few Council members who truly understands what we are trying to achieve. You are trying to reshape galactic civilization, Kelthera replied. You are trying to dismantle a system that has maintained peace for thousands of years. We are trying to replace a system of control with a system of cooperation, Chen corrected gently. There is a difference. The Council has maintained peace, yes, but at what cost? How many species have been suppressed, guided away from technologies you feared, prevented from reaching their full potential, because you decided their development was dangerous? Kelthera had no answer. She had reviewed the classified files after returning from Earth. 17 civilizations had been actively interfered with in just the past century. Some had been helped, guided onto more peaceful paths. Others had been subtly sabotaged, kept primitive and manageable. The Council justified every action as necessary for galactic stability, but seen through human eyes, it looked like oppression. I do not defend all Council actions, Kelthera said quietly, but I fear what will happen if the system collapses entirely. The Council has prevented wars, mediated conflicts, provided structure to a chaotic galaxy. Without it, what prevents species from destroying each other? The same thing that has always prevented it, Chen replied. Mutual self-interest, shared values, the recognition that cooperation produces better outcomes than conflict. The Council does not maintain peace, Ambassador. Fear maintains peace. Fear of Council intervention. Fear of being judged unworthy. Fear of being suppressed. We are offering something different. A system where species maintain peace because they choose to, not because they are forced to. You make it sound simple, Kelthera said. It is not. No, Chen agreed. It is incredibly complicated. That is why we are willing to negotiate, to find a path forward that does not require the Council's destruction. But we will not compromise on the fundamental principle. Sapient species have the right to self-determination, the right to develop freely, to make their own mistakes, to choose their own futures. The Council can facilitate cooperation without controlling development. Kelthera studied the human across the void. 2 centuries ago, humanity had been divided, violent, destroying their own planet. Now they lectured the galaxy on proper governance. The transformation was remarkable. Perhaps she should trust that other species could transform as well, given freedom instead of control. What do you want from these negotiations? Kelthera asked. Specifically, what outcomes would satisfy humanity? Chen smiled slightly. I will give you that information because I trust you to use it wisely, not because I expect you to share it with the full Council before we meet. We want 3 things. First, immediate cessation of all interference with pre-contact civilizations. No more suppression, no more guidance, no more secret interventions. Species develop freely or not at all. Second, dissolution of the Council's authority to dictate technological development. Each civilization decides for itself what to research and build. Third, transformation of the Council from a governing body to a cooperative organization. Decisions by consensus, not by power blocks. Equal voice for all members regardless of their military or economic strength. The powerful species will never accept equal voice, Kelthera said immediately. They will see it as giving up their rightful influence. Then they will find themselves increasingly isolated, Chen replied. Ambassador, while the Council has been debating how to respond to us, we have been busy. Very busy. Do you know what we have been doing for the past month? Kelthera felt a chill run through her respiratory system. What? We have made contact with 37 of the 43 civilizations currently under Council observation, Chen said calmly. We introduced ourselves. We explained what the Council has been doing. We offered them a choice. Continue under Council surveillance and control, or accept human protection and develop freely. 29 have accepted our offer. The implications crashed over Kelthera like a wave. Humanity had just recruited 29 emerging civilizations, species that would develop with human assistance, that would enter the galactic stage already aligned with human interests, that would owe their freedom to Earth rather than the Council. You are building an alliance, Kelthera said. We are offering freedom, Chen corrected. Those species can ally with humanity, with the Council, with no one, or with each other. Their choice. But they will make that choice knowing the truth about how the galaxy actually operates. And, Ambassador, here is something else you should know. 12 current Council members have approached us privately. They want to join any new organization we create. They are tired of the current system but have been afraid to oppose it openly. The Council was not just fracturing, it was dissolving. Humanity had spent 2 centuries preparing, and they had prepared thoroughly. They had not just built superior technology, they had built a coalition, a movement, an alternative to the existing order. What happens if the Council refuses your terms? Kelthera asked, though she already knew the answer. Then we proceed without them, Chen said simply. We establish the alliance of free civilizations. We offer membership to any species that accepts our principles. We provide mutual defense, share technology, facilitate trade and cooperation. We build everything the Council should have been but never was, and the Council becomes irrelevant, a relic of an older, more controlling era. Kelthera was silent for a long moment. You have thought of everything. We had 230 years, Chen reminded her. We used that time well. But Ambassador, I am telling you this because I hope it does not come to that. I genuinely believe the Council can reform. Many of your member species are good people who truly believe they are helping maintain galactic peace. They can be part of the new system. They can help build something better. But only if they are willing to let go of control and embrace cooperation. I will do everything in my power to convince them, Kelthera promised. The formal negotiations took place on a neutral station, one of the old Council outposts on the edge of civilized space. Humanity arrived with a small delegation led by Director Chen. The Council sent 40 representatives, including Coordinator Velmak and Commander Thex, who had insisted on attending despite his humiliation. The negotiations lasted 3 weeks. They were difficult, contentious, and often seemed on the verge of collapse. But slowly, painfully, progress was made. The turning point came when one of the smaller council civilizations, the Fenari, stood and made an impassioned speech. Their representative, an elderly female named Celtic, spoke about how the council had guided her people's development 2 centuries earlier, how they had been prevented from developing certain technologies, how their government had been influenced, how their choices had been constrained. "We accepted it because we believed the council knew better," Celtic said, her voice trembling with emotion. "We believed we were being helped. But now I wonder, what might my people have become if we had been free to make our own choices? What innovations did we never discover because we were guided away from them? What potential did we never reach because someone else decided our limits?" The question hung in the air. Kelthera saw it resonate with representatives from other species who had experienced similar guidance. The small civilizations that had always been managed by the larger ones. In the end, the vote was close. 27 species in favor of reform, 15 opposed, 5 abstaining. It was enough. The council agreed to humanity's core demands. Interference with pre-contact civilizations would end. Technological development would be unrestricted. The council would be reorganized as a cooperative body, with equal representation for all members. A new charter would be written, emphasizing freedom and cooperation over control and management. Humanity agreed to share some of their advanced technology and to provide defensive assistance to any council member who requested it. They would not share their quantum entanglement weapons, but they would help other species develop countermeasures, ensuring that no one power,